The signal. The ice of Europa crackled beneath Research Station Galileo, its deep groans echoing through the facility's reinforced walls. Dr. Sarah Chen barely noticed anymore. After 3 years on Jupiter's frozen moon, the sounds had become as familiar as breathing. She sat in the dimly lit communications lab, her eyes fixed on the streaming data that crawled across her holographic display. Something was different tonight. "Run it again, HFY," she commanded the station's eye. "Full spectrum analysis. Focus on the quantum band variations." "Processing, Dr. Chen," HFY responded, its voice carrying the slight metallic undertone characteristic of deep space A's. "Analysis indicates a 99.98% probability that the signal is artificially generated. Source appears to be approximately 47 astronomical units from our current position." Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her coffee mug, now gone cold in the station's carefully regulated atmosphere. The signal had first appeared 18 hours ago, a barely perceptible whisper in the quantum noise that perpetually surrounded them. Most would have missed it entirely. But Sarah wasn't most people. She'd spent her entire career listening to the silence between stars, searching for patterns that shouldn't exist. "Dr. Walker," she called over the internal comm. "I need you in Comm Lab 3. Now." James Walker, the station's lead physicist, appeared minutes later, his silver hair disheveled from sleep. "This better be good, Chen. It's 300 station time. Look at this." She gestured to the holographic display, where ARIA had assembled a 3-dimensional representation of the signal structure. "Tell me I'm not hallucinating." Walker's eyes widened as he studied the display, sleep forgotten. The signal pulsed with an impossible regularity, its quantum signatures forming patterns that defied natural explanation. "My God," he whispered. "It's not random noise." "No," Sarah agreed, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. "It's a message. And it's being transmitted through quantum entanglement channels we didn't even know existed." Walker sank into the chair beside her, his face pale in the blue light of the holographic display. "How long?" "First detected 18 hours ago. I've been running every analysis I can think of, trying to prove it's just another false positive." She managed a weak smile. "No such luck. Have you initiated first contact protocols?" Sarah shook her head. "Wanted confirmation first. But look at this." She gestured, and ARIA expanded a particular section of the signal analysis. "The message is repeating on a 6-hour cycle. And it's not just random data. There's structure here, patterns within patterns." Walker leaned forward, his scientific training warring with the sheer impossibility of what they were seeing. "Location. That's the other thing." Sarah pulled up a star chart. "It's coming from the Kuiper Belt. Whatever's sending this, it's in our own solar system." The implications hit them both simultaneously. Either something had been hiding in the outer reaches of their cosmic backyard, for whom knew how long, or they had just received their first visitors from beyond the stars. Neither option was particularly comforting. "We need to contact Earth," Walker said, already reaching for the quantum comm terminal. "This goes way beyond our station's jurisdiction." Sarah nodded, but her attention was already back on the signal. Something about its structure nagged at her. The pattern seemed almost familiar, like a half-remembered dream, or a word caught on the tip of her tongue. "RIA," she called out. "Cross-reference the signal's basic structure against all known human languages. Look for mathematical similarities, common patterns, anything that might suggest." She trailed off as new data flooded the screen. The AI had found something. Signal structure shows significant correlation with ancient Sumerian cuneiform, RIA reported. Specifically, the warning tablets found in the ruins of Uruk. Walker froze in the middle of composing his message to Earth Control. Warning tablets. Sarah's mouth had gone dry. The ones they used to mark dangerous places, temples, burial grounds. She swallowed hard. Places they thought people should stay away from. The ice groaned again beneath them, but this time the sound carried a different weight. They weren't just making first contact. They were receiving a warning. "Send the alert," Sarah said quietly. "Priority 1. All channels." As Walker transmitted their discovery to Earth, Sarah continued studying the signal. Its patterns twisted and turned through the quantum foam of spacetime, each cycle revealing new complexities. But one thing was becoming increasingly clear. Whatever had sent this message had gone to extraordinary lengths to make sure humanity would notice it. The question was, why now? The answer came 3 hours later, as observatories across the solar system began reporting anomalies. Objects in the Kuiper Belt, previously thought to be nothing more than frozen rocks and dormant comets, were beginning to wake up. Ancient machines, buried in ice and rock for millions of years, were stirring to life. And humanity, for better or worse, had just been handed the key to understanding them. Sarah watched as new data poured in from telescopes throughout the system. The signal had changed, growing stronger, more insistent. The warning was becoming clearer, but its meaning remained tantalizingly out of reach. She had the unsettling feeling that they were running out of time to decode it. "Dr. Chen," AI interrupted her thoughts. "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations throughout the station systems. Something is attempting to interface with our computers." Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the lab flared to life. Symbols cascaded across the displays, not in alien script, but in perfect English. "They are coming. You must be ready." The message flashed once, twice, then disappeared, leaving Sarah and Walker staring at their reflections in the darkened screens. In the silence that followed, the ice of Europa continued its ancient song. But now it seemed less like the groaning of frozen water and more like the awakening of something that had slumbered far too long. Humanity had just received its wake-up call, and somewhere in the darkness between the stars, ancient machinery continued to spin to life, preparing for a war that had been waiting millions of years to resume. Sarah looked at the blank screens, then at Walker, whose face reflected the same mix of fear and fascination she felt. "Well," she said, trying to keep her voice light, "I guess we're not alone anymore." Walker managed a grim smile. "No," he agreed. "But the real question is, are we ready for what comes next?" As if in answer, the quantum communications array burst to life again, this time with messages from Earth. Every major observatory, research station, and deep space outpost was reporting the same phenomenon. The solar system itself seemed to be waking up, and humanity was about to discover that their cosmic backyard was far more crowded and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Sarah turned back to her workstation, fingers flying over the holographic controls. They had a message to decode, and if her instincts were right, the fate of their species might depend on understanding it in time. The signal continued its relentless broadcast, counting down to something that humanity couldn't yet comprehend. In the depths of space, ancient engines hummed to life, and the real story was about to begin. The awakening. The United Earth Council chamber hadn't been this full since the Mars colony crisis 30 years ago. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, acutely aware of the 5,000 pairs of eyes fixed on her. And those were just the ones physically present. Billions more watched through neural feeds as humanity grappled with its new reality. "The artifacts are not random," she continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Our analysis suggests they form a network, a vast, interconnected web of ancient machinery spanning the entire solar system. And now, after millions of years of dormancy, they're activating." The holographic display behind her showed the latest sensor data. Dozens of objects scattered throughout the Kuiper Belt, each one now pulsing with the same quantum signature they'd first detected at Europa. But these weren't just simple beacons. They were changing, evolving, reconfiguring themselves for some unknown purpose. "Dr. Chen." Council President Rodriguez leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "You're suggesting these devices were deliberately placed here. By whom? And more importantly, why?" Sarah took a deep breath. This was the part they wouldn't like. "We believe they're part of a defense system," she said. The warning message we received wasn't just an announcement of presence, it was an activation key. These artifacts, they're weapons, and they were left here to protect us from something that's coming. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members shouted questions, neural feeds buzzed with speculation, and somewhere in the back, someone was demanding immediate military action. Sarah waited for Rodriguez to restore order before continuing. "But here's what's truly remarkable," she said, pulling up new data. "The artifacts aren't just responding to the signal. They're responding to us, specifically to human consciousness." The display shifted to show brainwave patterns matched against the quantum fluctuations emanating from the nearest artifact. The correlation was undeniable. "We've managed to partially decode more of the warning message," she continued. "It speaks of an ancient war, a conflict that nearly destroyed this galaxy millions of years ago. The enemy, the message calls them the Void Hunters, consume entire civilizations, not just their technology or resources, but their consciousness, their very essence." New images appeared behind her, astronomical data showing vast regions of space where stars had simply gone dark. Not exploded, not collapsed, but somehow erased from existence. The artifacts were created by a species called the Archivists. They fought the Void Hunters to a stalemate, but at a terrible cost. Rather than continue the war, they scattered these defense systems throughout the galaxy, seeding promising worlds with the potential to one day activate them. "And they chose Earth?" Rodriguez asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not exactly," Sarah replied. "They chose this entire solar system as a fortress, and then they waited for a species to evolve that could utilize it. Us. Human consciousness has unique properties, quantum coherence patterns that no other known species possesses. We're not just accidental inhabitants of this system, we're its intended guardians." The chamber erupted again, but this time with a different kind of energy. Fear mixed with something else. Purpose. Humanity had just discovered it had a destiny, and it was both more terrible and more magnificent than anyone had imagined. "There's more," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the noise. "The artifacts aren't just weapons. They're tools, libraries, repositories of knowledge beyond our current understanding, and they're beginning to share that knowledge with us." She gestured, and new data flooded the displays. Schematics for impossible technologies, theories that revolutionized their understanding of physics, biological innovations that could transform human civilization overnight. "But we don't have much time to learn," she continued. "The Void Hunters are coming. The artifact's activation was triggered because they detected the enemy's approach. We have months, maybe a year at most, to prepare." "Prepare for what?" someone shouted from the back. "To defend not just humanity, but this entire sector of the galaxy," Sarah answered. "The Archivists built the weapons. They created the fortress. But they designed it all to be operated by human minds. We're the key they've been waiting for." Rodriguez stood, her decision already visible in her stance. "How do we begin?" "We already have," Sarah said, pulling up one final display. "Every artifact we've discovered is already interfacing with human consciousness. People are having dreams, visions, sudden insights into technologies they couldn't possibly understand. The knowledge transfer has begun. We just need to organize it, understand it, and prepare to use it." "And if we fail?" Rodriguez asked the question everyone was thinking. Sarah's expression hardened. "Then humanity won't be the only thing that dies. This entire sector of space, every civilization within it, will fall to the Void Hunters. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for everyone." The chamber was silent again, but this time it was the silence of determination. Humanity had spent its entire existence looking to the stars, wondering if they were alone, hoping to find their place in the cosmos. Now they had their answer, and it was bigger than anyone had ever dreamed. "The Archivists left us everything we need," Sarah concluded. "The weapons, the knowledge, the power. But they couldn't give us the one thing that matters most, the will to use it all. That has to come from us." As if in response to her words, every quantum sensor in the solar system suddenly spiked. The artifacts were accelerating their activation sequence. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, something was moving, approaching, hunting. The time for debate was over. The age of preparation had begun. Humanity had just inherited the most sophisticated defense system in the galaxy, and they had precious little time to learn how to use it. The real question was, would it be enough? The Guardians' test. They came without warning. One moment, the quantum sensors around Saturn were reporting normal activity. The next, a ship larger than anything humanity had ever built materialized in a burst of impossible energy. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury, reflecting the ringed planet's pale light in waves of ethereal color. Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck of humanity's newest vessel, the Prometheus, as the alien ship approached. After 3 months of preparation, of learning to interface with the artifacts, of absorbing knowledge that threatened to overwhelm their minds, humanity was about to meet the architects of their destiny. Receiving transmission, announced AI, now integrated with both human and artifact technology. The archivist's request permitted. Admiral Helena Torres, standing beside Sarah, straightened her uniform. Granted. The transfer was unlike anything in human experience. One moment, the observation deck was empty. The next, 3 beings stood before them. They were tall, their bodies composed of what appeared to be crystalline structures that shifted and flowed like water, refracting light in impossible patterns. Their eyes, if they could be called that, were deep pools of swirling energy. "We come too late," the central figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "The awakening has already begun." Sarah stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. We've been expecting you." The crystalline beings shifted, their forms rippling with what might have been surprise. "You understand our language." "The artifacts have been teaching us," Sarah replied. "Though there's still much we don't comprehend." The archivists moved closer, their forms casting prismatic patterns across the deck. "Impossible. The knowledge transfer should have driven you mad. Your minds are not supposed to be capable of." "But we are capable," Admiral Torres interrupted. "More than capable. The real question is, why didn't you contact us sooner?" The archivists communicated among themselves in pulses of light that the humans' enhanced perception could now partially understand. They were confused, perhaps even disturbed. "We feared," the central figure began. "We feared you were not ready. That, like so many others, you would destroy yourselves before reaching the necessary level of development. We watched as you split the atom, as you poisoned your skies, as you turned your weapons upon each other. And yet here we are," Sarah said quietly. "Still standing, still learning, still pushing forward." Yes, the archivist's form shimmered with what might have been respect. "You have survived your own nature. But now you face something far worse." The air around them shifted, and suddenly they were no longer on the observation deck. Instead, they stood in what appeared to be a vast space battle, though one fought with weapons and principles that defied human understanding. Ships that dwarfed stars engaged in combat with entities that seemed to be made of living darkness. "The Void Hunters," Sarah whispered. Yes, the archivist's voice was heavy with memory. They came from beyond the galaxy's edge, seeking not just conquest but consumption. They devour consciousness itself, adding each species unique perspectives and knowledge to their own. They are a collective hunger that can never be satisfied. The vision shifted, showing worlds being consumed, entire civilizations vanishing into that hungry void. But then it showed something else. The defense network, the artifacts, the careful seeding of worlds with the potential for conscious life. "We fought them to a standstill," the archivist continued. "But we knew we could not win alone. We needed partners, species whose minds could interface with our technology in ways even we could not. We searched for eons, seeding thousands of worlds, waiting for the right combination of neural complexity and quantum coherence. And you found it in humans, Torres said. No, the archivist's form pulsed with something like amusement. You found it in yourselves. Your minds evolved in ways we never predicted. You developed abilities we thought impossible for organic beings. You can perceive and manipulate quantum states directly, though most of you never realized it. Your consciousness exists partially outside normal spacetime. Sarah's mind raced with implications. The artifacts didn't give us these abilities. They just helped us become aware of what we already had. Correct. The archivist turned to face her directly. But awareness is not mastery. You have barely begun to understand your potential, and the enemy approaches. We must determine if you are truly ready for what comes next. The vision around them changed again. They stood now in what appeared to be a vast testing chamber, its walls lined with technology that merged seamlessly with organic forms. The Guardian's test, the archivist announced. A trial of not just ability, but understanding. You must prove not only that you can use our weapons, but that you comprehend why they must be used. Admiral Torres stepped forward. And if we fail, then we will activate the system's final protocol. Your son will go nova, destroying everything in this system, including the artifacts. Better total destruction than allowing such weapons to fall into the Void Hunter's grasp. The humans exchanged glances. The stakes couldn't be higher. Begin, Sarah said firmly. What followed was unlike any test in human history. It was part physical challenge, part philosophical debate, part quantum mechanics exam. The archivists pushed them to their limits and beyond, forcing them to solve problems that shouldn't have been possible, to perceive realities that shouldn't have been visible. Hours stretched into days as humanity's representatives faced trial after trial. They failed often, but they never gave up. They adapted, learned, evolved their strategies. And most importantly, they worked together, combining their unique perspectives in ways that surprised even their ancient examiners. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the testing chamber faded away, returning them to the Prometheus's observation deck. The archivists stood before them, their crystalline forms pulsing with an emotion that felt like a mixture of surprise and pride. You are not what we expected, the central figure said at last. You are more. Your solutions, your adaptations, they show not just intelligence but wisdom. Not just ability but understanding. Does this mean we passed? Torres asked, exhaustion evident in her voice. There is no passing or failing such a test, the archivist replied. There is only revelation, and you have revealed yourselves to be exactly what this galaxy needs. Not perfect, not all-powerful, but capable of growth, of learning, of seeing beyond the obvious to find solutions where none seemed possible. Sarah stepped forward. Then you'll help us prepare for what's coming. The archivist's forms shifted in what might have been a bow. No, we will teach you to prepare yourselves. The difference is crucial. The Void Hunters cannot be defeated by weapons alone. They must be overcome by consciousness itself, by being to understand both the power and the responsibility of existence. As if to emphasize their words, every artifact in the solar system suddenly pulsed in unison. The real training was about to begin, and humanity would need every moment of the time remaining to master both their inheritance and themselves. The test was over. The true challenge was about to begin. The hidden power. The meditation chamber aboard the Prometheus hummed with quantum energy as Sarah Chen floated in its center, her mind extended far beyond her physical form. Through the artifact-enhanced neural network, she could feel the consciousness of thousands of other humans similarly connected across the solar system. Their thoughts merged and separated like waves in a vast ocean of awareness. 3 months had passed since the archivist's test, and humanity had learned more in that time than in all their previous history combined. But it wasn't just about accumulating knowledge. It was about fundamentally changing how they perceived reality itself. Your consciousness exists in quantum superposition. The archivist instructor's thoughts resonated through the network. You are not merely observing multiple possibilities. You are experiencing them simultaneously. This is what makes you unique among organic species. Sarah focused on a particular quantum stream, watching as probability waves collapsed and reformed around her awareness. She could feel the artifacts responding, their ancient machinery harmonizing with human thought patterns in ways that even the archivists found surprising. The Void Hunters believe consciousness is a resource to be consumed, the instructor continued. They cannot comprehend that it is actually the fundamental force of reality itself. In another part of the ship, Admiral Torres supervised a different kind of training. Crews were learning to operate weapons that didn't just fire energy or matter, but actually manipulated the fabric of space-time itself. The artifacts had transformed the Prometheus and its sister ships into vessels that could fold space, redirect quantum probability, and channel the very essence of consciousness as a force. Target acquired, announced Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, her mind merged with both ship and artifact. The holographic display showed a practice drone 20,000 kilometers away, initiating probability collapse. The drone didn't explode or disintegrate. Instead, it simply ceased to exist in this particular timeline, shifted to a parallel reality where it had never been built. The energy cost was minimal compared to conventional weapons, but the strategic implications were staggering. Better, Torres nodded. But remember, the Void Hunters will be able to resist simple probability shifts. We need to be more creative. Back in the meditation chamber, Sarah's consciousness expanded further, touching the edges of human perception. Through the neural network, she could feel others doing the same. Scientists, soldiers, artists, children, all discovering abilities that had laid dormant in human DNA for millennia. The artifacts are not just weapons, the archivist's thoughts rippled through the network. They are keys, designed to unlock what was already within you. Your species was not chosen by chance. Your very evolution was guided toward this moment. Images flowed through the network. Ancient beings seeding Earth's primordial oceans with specifically coded DNA, watching as life evolved, subtly influencing key mutations over millions of years, all to produce beings capable of perceiving and manipulating quantum reality directly. But why? Sarah's thought echoed through the network. Why go to such lengths? The answer came not from the archivist, but from deep within the artifacts themselves. Suddenly, Sarah understood. The Void Hunters weren't just an enemy. They were a symptom of a deeper problem. The universe itself was at risk of falling into entropy, of losing the very consciousness that gave it meaning and purpose. Humanity wasn't just being prepared to fight a war. They were being prepared to help maintain the conscious existence of reality itself. The revelation rippled through the network, touching every connected mind. In orbital stations, planetary bases, and ships throughout the solar system, humans paused as understanding dawned. Their role was far greater than merely defending their own existence. Now you begin to understand. The archivist's thoughts carried a note of approval. But understanding brings greater responsibility. The power you're awakening to, the ability to perceive and influence quantum reality directly, it could easily be misused. Sarah watched through the network as teams of humans worked with the artifacts, learning to merge technology and consciousness in ways that defied conventional physics. They were building something new, not just weapons and defenses, but a whole new way of existing. 3 more Void Hunter scout ships detected at the heliopause. ARI's announcement cut through the meditation. Their main fleet's arrival time has been revised. We have less than 2 weeks. The news sent a ripple of focused determination through the network. Humanity had learned much, but would it be enough? They had mastered technologies that would have seemed like magic months ago, but the Void Hunters had eons of experience consuming civilizations. We're ready for the next phase. Admiral Torres's thoughts joined the network. Project Lighthouse is operational. Sarah opened her physical eyes, letting her consciousness settle back into normal spacetime. Project Lighthouse was humanity's ultimate gambit, a plan so audacious that even the archivists had been skeptical. It involved using the entire solar system's network of artifacts, not as separate weapons, but as a single, vast instrument of consciousness. All personnel, prepare for quantum sync. Taurus's voice echoed through both ship and network. We're about to find out if our theories work. Sarah made her way to the bridge, where holographic displays showed the positions of every ship, station, and artifact in the solar system. Humanity had reorganized their entire civilization in months, transforming their home system into both fortress and weapon. The Void Hunters expect to find primitive beings barely able to manage nuclear fusion, Taurus said as Sarah took her station. Instead, they're going to face something they've never encountered, a species that can match their ability to manipulate reality itself. And if we're wrong? Sarah asked, watching as the quantum readings from the approaching scout ships grew stronger. If all our preparation isn't enough. Taurus' expression was grim but determined. Then we'll do what humanity has always done. We'll improvise, we'll adapt, and we'll find a way to win anyway. The bridge hummed with energy as the final preparations were made. Throughout the solar system, millions of humans joined their consciousness through the artifact network, ready to face an enemy that had terrorized galaxies for millions of years. They were about to discover if humanity's hidden power, the ability to perceive and influence quantum reality itself, would be enough to turn the tide in a war as old as consciousness itself. The ultimate test was approaching, and failure meant not just the end of humanity, but potentially the end of conscious existence in this sector of space. The weight of that responsibility should have been crushing, but instead it was energizing. Humanity had spent its existence looking up at the stars, dreaming of its place in the cosmos. Now they knew that place. They were the guardians, the protectors, the ones chosen not by chance, but by the very nature of their consciousness to stand against the darkness. And stand they would. The last stand. They came like a storm of living darkness, their ships defying conventional physics as they tore through the fabric of space-time. The Void Hunters' main fleet emerged at the edge of the solar system, a swarm of vessels that seemed to absorb both light and reality itself. In their wake, stars dimmed, and space itself seemed to wither. But humanity was ready. Project Lighthouse. Initiate. Admiral Taurus's command rippled through the quantum network connecting every human mind in the solar system. Sarah Chen, standing at her station on the Prometheus's bridge, felt the surge of collective consciousness as millions of minds synchronized through the artifact network. The entire solar system hummed with power as ancient machinery merged with human awareness. Every artifact, every ship, every station became part of a vast instrument of consciousness. The sun itself seemed to pulse in rhythm with human thought. First wave approaching, Araya announced, its voice echoing through both physical and quantum space. Enemy vessels show unusual configuration. They're adapting to our defenses already. The Void Hunters' advanced ships struck first, launching weapons that didn't just destroy matter but erased it from existence. Space itself screamed as reality warped around their assault. But where conventional defenses would have failed, humanity's new awareness prevailed. Probability shield holding, Sarah reported, her consciousness extended through the network. She could see feel understand the quantum nature of the attack, and more importantly, how to counter it. They're trying to collapse our timeline, make it so we never evolved. Show them why that won't work, Taurus commanded. Through the network, Sarah and thousands of others reached out with their minds, using the artifacts to stabilize not just their current reality, but all potential realities where humanity existed. The Void Hunters' weapons found themselves fighting not just one timeline, but an infinite array of human consciousness spread across multiple dimensions. The enemy's first wave faltered, their reality-erasing weapons unable to find purchase in the quantum probability field humanity had created. But this was just the beginning. Main fleet accelerating, Araya warned. They're adapting their strategy. New attack pattern detected. The void between planets filled with what looked like living shadows, entities that consumed not just matter and energy, but consciousness itself. These were the Void Hunters in their true form, ancient and hungry beyond comprehension. "Now we see what we're really fighting," Sarah whispered, watching as the shadows approached. Through the quantum network, she could feel their alien thoughts, an endless hunger, a desire to consume all awareness until only they remained. "Project Lighthouse, Phase 2, Torres ordered. Let's show them what human consciousness can really do." Throughout the solar system, the artifacts began to pulse with a new kind of energy. This was what humanity had been preparing for, not just a battle of weapons and ships, but a war of consciousness itself. Every human mind in the network focused, channeling their awareness through the ancient machinery in a way its creators had never imagined possible. The solar system itself began to change. Space-time curved and folded according to human will, creating geometries that shouldn't have been possible. The Void Hunters found themselves fighting not just ships and weapons, but reality itself shaped by human consciousness. "They're trying to adapt," Sarah reported, watching as the enemy fleet split and reformed, attempting to find weaknesses in humanity's defense. But they don't understand what they're facing. They've never encountered consciousness that could resist them like this. The battle raged across multiple dimensions of reality. Void Hunter ships would appear in one timeline only to find themselves trapped in probability loops created by human minds working in concert with the artifacts. Their attempts to consume consciousness were met with an awareness that didn't just resist, but actively reshaped the quantum fabric of space. But the enemy was ancient and powerful. They had consumed countless civilizations, absorbed knowledge beyond human comprehension. They began to press harder, their shadows reaching deeper into reality itself. "They're targeting the quantum network," Sarah called out as she felt the pressure building. "Trying to sever our connection to the artifacts." Through the network, she could feel human minds straining against the assault. The Void Hunters were bringing to bear the combined knowledge of every civilization they had ever consumed, trying to overwhelm humanity's defenses through sheer complexity. That's when Sarah understood what they had to do. "Admiral," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them, "I know how to end this, but it's going to take everything we have." Torres turned to her, understanding flowing through the network. The quantum resonance cascade. Yes, Sarah's mind was already reaching out, touching the consciousness of every human connected to the network. "We can't just fight them. We have to show them something they've never seen before." The plan flowed through the network, understanding spreading from mind to mind. It was audacious, possibly suicidal, but it was also uniquely human. Instead of trying to destroy the Void Hunters, they would attempt to change them. "All minds, synchronize," Torres commanded. "Project Lighthouse, Final Phase." Every human consciousness in the solar system joined together, their combined awareness channeled through the artifacts in a way that transcended their original design. They weren't just fighting anymore. They were creating something new. The quantum network expanded, not attacking the Void Hunters but encompassing them. Human consciousness, multiplied and amplified by millions of minds working in perfect harmony, reached out not to destroy but to connect. For the first time in their ancient existence, the Void Hunters experienced something they had never known: true communion with another consciousness. Not consumption, not absorption, but genuine contact. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. The shadow ships froze in space as their collective consciousness encountered something entirely outside their experience. They had spent eons consuming other minds, but they had never actually communicated with them. Through the network, humanity showed them everything: their hopes, their fears, their endless capacity for growth and change. Most importantly, they showed the Void Hunters what they had never understood: that consciousness wasn't a resource to be consumed, but a force that grew stronger through cooperation and connection. The battle hung in perfect balance for one eternal moment. Then, slowly, the shadows began to recede. Not in defeat, but in transformation. The Void Hunters had encountered something that couldn't be consumed, a form of consciousness that only grew stronger when shared. "They're changing," Sarah reported, watching through both physical and quantum senses as the enemy fleet began to shift and reform. We didn't just stop them. We showed them another way to exist. The solar system slowly returned to normal as the quantum energies stabilized. The artifacts pulsed one final time, then settled into a steady rhythm that matched the collective heartbeat of humanity. Did we just win? Someone asked through the network. No, Sarah replied, watching as the transformed Void Hunter ships began to move away, their shadows now shot through with threads of light. We did something better. We evolved. The Archivist ships appeared at the edge of the system, their crystalline forms radiating with what felt like astonishment. You exceeded all expectations, their thoughts echoed through the network. We prepared you to fight an enemy, but you found a way to transform them instead. This is why you were chosen, not just for your ability to perceive quantum reality, but for your capacity to imagine new possibilities. Admiral Torres stood on her bridge, watching as the last traces of battle faded from space. So what happens now? The answer came not from the archivists, but from the artifacts themselves, their ancient machinery humming with new purpose. Humanity had proven themselves to be more than just defenders. They were transformers, capable of changing not just themselves, but the very nature of consciousness in the universe. The stars seemed brighter somehow as the quantum network settled into its new configuration. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had taken their place among the cosmos not through force of arms, but through the power of consciousness itself. The silent stars weren't silent anymore. They sang with the promise of what was to come, as humanity prepared to help guide the galaxy toward a new understanding of existence itself. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, shadows that had once hungered now began to learn how to shine.